is how we start our show. And we go straight to it. Today, I'll tell you what type time we are on. What type of time we are on. Just in a few. Secret History is the title. Do we know more than that? Nobody knows, bro. Nobody knows.
In 1952, the British colony of Kenya was thrown into crisis by a gang of freedom fighters called Maumau. They vowed to free Kenya from colonialism at any cost. Their name became a byword for savagery because of the way they butchered their victims.
You could hear them shouting it as they went in, cut, cut, cut. And they would just slash. Yes, they would slash anybody.
No atemire ni hari umwe watemire ucio atitire kanyamu gatwana atemire na gicoka kigirithia ruhiu ru nyeki uguo thakame uguo.
Though many Africans would die at the hands of Mau Mau, it was the murder of whites that horrified the outside world. To the British, the uprising was such an outrage.
So listen, guys, I'm taking you to a time where nobody takes you anymore. Probably for the kids, nobody has ever taken you to this. And we're in 2024. So, today is like a class. You better keep your A's, your notebooks, and whatever you do to make sure you don't forget this. This is our history, bro. This is the history of the kings and how they fought. Yeah. Let's go.
Outrageous attack on colonialism that it justified any response. And that response, when it came, would be brutal and shocking.
Bro, the meaning of this name, till today, nobody has a solid answer. Everybody has his or her own explanation of the word. But the one we are riding on with today, it's a Kikuyu word. When you reverse, or when not reversing, when you interchange, comes something like uma. Uma. That means get out, get out. This was used like I think was a code for when them white fellows were coming to their villages, you know. There's also another, let's say, explanation to the name I heard. Was like when the Kikuyus were taking oaths, like in the forest, they were taking their oaths in different ways. But in Kikuyu, the oath is called Muma. So I think they were saying like something like the Europeans were not able to pronounce Muma. So they were Maumau, but that's like far-fetched. So, I don't know.
In the early 1950s, Kenya shone out as one of the last jewels in Britain's colonial crown. The European settlers farmed Kenya's richest soil in an area that had become known as the White Highlands. Over 2 generations, they had built themselves a life of luxury. It seemed as if the good life would go on forever.
The white settlers lived the English-style life. They had their farms. They had lots of servants serving at table.
In our damn country, bro. We were slaving even here? Man. What? Come on, bro. Come on, bro. Come on, bro. Come on, bro.
It all appeared to be terribly rich, terribly posh, and absolutely remote from the life of the ordinary African.
The ordinary settler really enjoyed being in Kenya. It was a good life. I mean, let's face it, be rather blunt, you could get servants, and booze was cheap. The European
Booze still cheap, bro. Booze is still cheap. That's not white privilege. Booze still cheap.
took the view that they were doing the Africans a great favour by being in Kenya. We're jolly good chaps, you know, and you're very lucky to have us here. They were third or fifth class citizens compared to the Europeans. It wasn't racist. It was just, a fact of life.
Bro, for all of you in America, we were not spared, bro. We were still picking cotton down here. They were on our asses too over here, bro. This is so funny, bro.
Britain has brought much good to Kenya. Her standards of living are growing still higher as more of her people learn the lessons that the white man has to teach.
But the high life of the Europeans was built on African land and African labor. Poorly paid, unable to vote, and restricted even in the crops they could grow, Africans were beginning to resent white man's rule.
Muzungu angiaukirire bawurege gukira wene kuburwa ngiburwa ni muzungu ucio nonge muringa wicokeria omuringi akuringite niwaringa bwana oguo we niwo bwenjera nundu akuringa bwana na tikwora na abari ciake kana murayo ndu umwe nake riu ni kuona mundu wothe mutuni ogaukira no kerugamia wega nundu ni bwana.
Bro, he's saying everybody who was black, and don't forget, we're still in our own country, everybody who was black, if they would see a white person, the white person called themselves Buana. Buana is like, I want to say master, but nah. Buana is like a male, like an alpha male, right? Like just like, let's say a male. So you had to stand up and bow your fucking head down, bro. Yeah, for the white man. This is what we went to. This is history, bro. From the horse's mouth, bro. Look at the dreads. That's Maumau.
Na riria mundu mwiru aboragwo na njira teo riria kuringwa ni kwinyite agua kauga ndio bwana na ni kuborwa araborwa ndukuona iyo yaita kunikuo ucio niguo tuonaga ucio nukombo tari mwega.
Bro, he said that was not good slavery. Meaning they had accepted slavery, bro. That's what he literally said. This is not serious, bro.
In the post-war world, the facts of colonial life were changing fast. One by one, African countries were demanding self-rule. Africans who had risked their lives fighting for the British during the war were not prepared to return to the old ways.
1942 nitwateithirie ngetha 1939 no thutha wa uguo twimbira mbara-ini gutire kindu matuheire riu ni undu wa uguo ri tugituika riu tugucoka ukombo-ini.
He's saying they were forced by the British to participate in the World War. I guess this is the Second World War. They were promised land. When they came back, bro, it was
na riu ni undu wa uguo ri uteti wa gitira iguru ri tugikorwo atiri ro tukiruire na Ngeretha nigetha mehere bururi wi ira ithu tukihanda ta andu aria angi.
He's saying after that, they had to crash out. They had to crash out, bro. We had to crash out.
Tension between black and white was rising, but white settlers felt themselves immune to changing times.
I remember a settler saying to me, "You young district officers know nothing. We've been here for years. We know our boys," as they used to call them. "We know the boys. We know all about them. You don't know anything." And it was the difference between knowing. The settler did know a lot. He did know a lot about Africans, how to handle African labour, how to use African labour. But he could not see what the use of that labour and the production of money was beginning to bring about. He couldn't see the political change.
You see where we were living, bro? You just seen their houses. This thing was global, bro. These people are pure evil, bro. These people were pure evil, bro. They took people from here and they still work people from here, bro. Serious no, bro. On dead and Kemadhi, bro. Be serious, bro.
The settlers seemed complacent and dismissive of African aspiration. Their government, too, refused to take black political ambition seriously.
The colonial government was always negative. The African was said to be not ready for independence. He was said to be illiterate and unorganized and things like that.
Some of us still believe that. I'm so disappointed. Some of us still believe that Africans did know nothing before the Mzungu came. 2024, some people still believe we will be still in the goddamn forest in 2024 if it wasn't for the white man. Yeah, foolish as hell, bro.
Political frustration was rising fast. In early 1950, African nationalism began to take a new and ominous course.
I was on safari. I was in my tent, and just about dawn there was a clamour, and someone rushed in and said, "Bwana, Bwana, come. The preacher at the church has been murdered." And I went. It was only a short distance, and lo and behold, the preacher had been cut up with a machete, and they'd also killed a goat, taken the sexual organs of the goat and draped it upon the crucifix on the altar of this church. A very nasty business indeed. That was the very first death that I saw. And then more and more came along.
Bro, they did the pastor man bad, bro. They did the pastor man bad.
Rumors began to circulate about a secret society that had formed amongst the Kikuyu. 1/5 of the population, they were Kenya's largest tribe.
Kikosi, do you think that's why the Kikuyu think that they own the country because they fought? Is that why they think like they should be in leadership every time? Because they were like the main fighters? I don't know about that, bro.
This mysterious organization called itself the Land Freedom Army. It was forcing Kikuyu to swear an oath to take back the land the white man had stolen. Any African who refused the oath or remained loyal to the colonialists was likely to be brutally murdered. This secret society soon acquired a new name, though no one knew where from. It was called Maumau.
Bro, that's the Black Panther. That's the Crips, bro. In short, bro.
Missionaries started to get a bit uneasy, and the chiefs also started to get uneasy, and they said, "Do you know, a few people have disappeared, and so-and-so was murdered the other night." And we got more and more reports of deaths. And then, when we tried to make general inquiries for the first time, we got a slowing down in information.
Unease turned to fear when on the 7th of October 1952, a staunch British loyalist, Chief Waruhu, was shot by the Maumau in broad daylight.
Man, are these African clothes or these are white man clothes, bro? I'm talking about this. Are these our original clothes, but they look so white, bro? Are these the Mzungu clothes? Maybe we can find out at the end.
The assassination was seen as a declaration of war by the terrorists.
They got him, bro.
Maumau was emerging as the first violent threat to British colonial authority in post-war Africa. The government moved fast to stamp it out. 2 weeks later, on the 20th of October, the colony's governor, Sir Evelyn Baring, declared a state of emergency. Within days, Kenya, Britain's beloved colonial jewel, was at war with its own subjects.
Man, we ain't their own subjects, bro. I don't also like when the white people do this type of documentary, bro. We didn't accept being their subjects, bro. We were fighting, bro. Man, god damn it.
Troops are in the streets of Nairobi. Sir Evelyn Baring, the governor, salutes the men of the Lancashire Fusiliers who have flown in.
This is Kenya, bro. Don't think this is England or Britain or UK, bro. This is Kenya, bro. Kenya was so white, bro.
To help clear his colony of the Maumau menace, which has struck fear into Kenya's very heart.
The government's first step was to arrest the man fast emerging as the most influential and charismatic political figure since Gandhi. His name was Jomo Kenyatta.
Hey. One shot for Jomo Kenyatta, bro.
Kenyatta was the leader of the Kenya-Africa Union, a political party demanding greater African self-rule. Publicly, he had denounced Maumau and the use of violence. But the British believed they had reason to fear him.
The British and the white settlers were together convinced that Kenyatta was the brains behind the movement. Everybody knew that he exercised an extraordinary moral influence.
Big up Baba Uhuru, Baba Uhuru.
Over Kikuyu opinion. They increasingly felt that the degree of organized resistance amongst Kikuyu young men had to be organized from a center, and the only center they could imagine was that of Kenyatta and his moderate politicians. They couldn't get the evidence.
Yeah.
But the government didn't let lack of evidence stand in their way. In a trial mired in controversy, the judge was paid £20,000 to take the case, and the key witness was rewarded with a university course in the UK and the promise of a government post on his return to Kenya.
Bro, that's when the snitches started their work, bro. They were promised education, bro. White man's education, so that they could come and continue with the mission, bro.
Kenyatta was found guilty of inciting Maumau and imprisoned in a remote part of Kenya for the 7 years of the emergency. It was meant to wipe him from Kikuyu consciousness. It was a fatal mistake.
Makosha.
At a stroke, he became a martyr to the Maumau cause, and the British lost the one moderate leader who had the power to unite Kenya.
Nairobi police have been supplemented by hundreds of civilians, many of them women, to help round up the Maumau bandits. Radio-controlled cars with armored vehicles are used to carry out the army's plans for bringing in all suspects.
As the war against Maumau intensified, white settlers rushed to join the security forces. British and African troops poured into the country. Now all Kikuyu were treated as suspects.
You were a Kikuyu, you just had to squat and raise your hands or bend down, look down and answer funny questions from people, strange people. It was a frightening experience.
Within 10 days of the emergency, almost 4,000 Africans had been arrested. But Maumau attacks continued.
How many cops were there to arrest 4,000, bro? But listen, they had the guns. We had only spears. That's the difference. They had the vrah, brrr, pow, pow.
And now whites were the target. The Maumau slashed their victims with large field knives called pangas.
Yep.
In Tamale, there was a retired British Army major who lived
Fuck the police. Fuck the police. Fuck the police.
alone on a small holding, and he was often warned about his security, and I don't think he took an awful lot of notice of it. He thought that he knew these people well. He'd been living there for years. And of course, one night he left his door open, and his cook or somebody else in his employ let a gang in, and they pangered him to death, and he was just lying there in the living room, absolutely slaughtered.
As fear spread through the white
Are those straps? Are those guns, bro? Everybody got a gun. Even Madame Zungu got a gun.
community, settlers began arming themselves.
I had a Sten gun with 2 barrels taped together and a 4.5 revolver, and I slept in my clothes with gym shoes on, and I had a plan if the house was broken into what I should do.
The settlers' worst fear was an attack in the night by their own Kikuyu servants who had taken the Maumau oath.
Yes. Everybody was sliding. Everybody was coming for your ass, white people.
Isolated farms were in the greatest danger.
Several of the murders which took place in isolated European homes took place in the evening. When the staff brought your soup in, they would have to come into the house through the back door, and therefore this was the time when often the Maumau would choose to come in behind them, having intimidated them, or sometimes they might have even been sympathetic to the movement, and then they would come in and attack while the people were sitting having dinner. You didn't really know who you could trust, and so right from an early age of 14 I had to carry a gun when I went out on the farm. When things were particularly tense, I actually had to go with 2 armed men with me.
Is that a young slave master? Are we witnessing a slave being trained? With small slave Kenyans? This shit was serious, bro. This shit was serious, bro.
And then of course we had the weapons with us at all times, in the house, under the pillow, beside the soup plate in the evening, at dinner. It was just something that you had with you all the time.
As the tension increased, farms everywhere were turned into fortresses.
Our own security arrangements here consisted mainly of what we called a home guard.
Look at this man, bro. These were the snitches, bro. This one, bro. Take a look at him. Then tutafute watoto wake tuwasalimie. Mwangalieni vizuri, anafanana na nani huyu? Tafute watoto wake huyu alikuwa collaborator wa wazungu. Alikuwa na walinda huyu. Tafuteni uso yake. Tuone kama tunaweza trace watoto wake ama wajukuu wake tuwasalimie.
Guard post, which was just out the back of our farm, where we had 40 armed men in kind of like a western fort. It was very dramatically built with trenches and a drawbridge, and was pretty secure. Most of them had shotguns.
Memuona? Have you seen him? Look at him. We're gonna find his grandchildren and we're gonna say hi to them, bro. That's how we do it in the 254. We tafuta the warazi, their numbers, or their kids' number, then we pick them up, bro. And for that,
those that were not able to have firearms, have bows and arrows. It was all fairly rudimentary, but
at least having 40 armed men around the place in day and night was kind of a bit of an encouragement to us.
Any encouragement the settlers might have felt in the early weeks of the emergency was dashed in January 1953 with news of a horrifying murder that rocked the white community.
Mr. and Mrs. Ruck and their small son ran a farm on the Kinnencop. And he was a farmer, and his wife, Esme, whom I actually knew well as a child, she was a doctor, a lovely person. One evening, Ruck was lured out and chopped to pieces, and Esme, his wife, hearing this commotion outside, rushed out to help him. She then was killed. The little boy who'd hidden up in a bedroom in a cupboard was sought out and cut to pieces himself.
Yo, we don't condone violence to kids, bro. Maumau, you are ill for that, bro. But listen, we've just seen a young slave being trained, bro. I don't know what was going on.
Seen some of these sites, it did have a quite a traumatic effect on one. I think one always very, very scared of a swinging knife for a start, but the sight of so much blood and people just lying there, innocent people who had really just been torn limb from limb, it was really, yes, quite shocking.
The horrific...
Is this State House, bro? Is this the White House? Is this State House? Walikuwa naingia State House kaa choo. God damn it.
The horrific nature of these murders sealed the fate of the Maumau. Angry settlers stormed Government House, demanding stronger action.
Bro, we were also doing that, bro, with the Gen Z. We were going to State House, bro. We didn't tambua. We were going there, bro.
The deaths were brutal. But in truth, during the whole emergency, more white settlers would die on the roads than at the hands of the terrorists. Yet this didn't stop the war against Maumau, turning into one of the bloodiest horror stories of the British Empire.
Bro, what did you learn from part 1? What did you learn from part 1? What did I learn?
The Maumau uprising in Kenya sent shockwaves through the colony. Though it was an outrageous attack on the white community and on colonial authority, in truth it was the Africans themselves who would suffer the most. Kikuyu who remained loyal to the colonial government were increasingly under threat. On the 26th of March 1953, a Maumau gang waited for dusk to fall on the loyalist village of Lari. The village chief, Chief Luka, was fiercely loyal to the colonial authorities and had been rewarded with land. He was hated for it by the Maumau.
Yeah. There was no need for anyone to snitch on us, bro. No fucking need. The land was ours. Bro. I don't understand some of these folks, bro. Some of these folks were totally dumb, bro. Totally dumb, bro.
But it was the whole village that would pay the price as the gang launched its attack.
Gũkũ mĩrango-inĩ na mĩcinga gũtũrĩka na njago gĩkĩ gĩa ngũĩ nene mũno ya tũrũ rĩu ona mũndũ harĩa rĩrĩa agakĩramũrwo nĩkĩ no ndũngĩhota kuuma tondũ gũtonya kũrĩa matonya hĩndĩ ĩyo marahũra nĩ maracina. Niĩ nyũmba yakwa nĩ yakĩhĩire tũgĩgĩitĩkĩrwo na mwana wakwa tũgĩgĩitĩkĩrwo nĩ mũrari wa kuma nĩ mũthandi cia mahuti kuma na igũrũ ngiona riu na rithu uyu ndumuigirie ni ugwakana ona wari maturatu na inegene ria riuma kuo ri gutiri ona misigere kuhuragwo ri gutiri ni kirire piu ngiuma ngigira gatagati ka nyumba eno na eno yakwa ngithi guikuruka oguo ri ithe andu me haria hau niho moragire muthuri mamurutite nyumba magithie riu ngikinya ta haria uguo koiguini gaka ri ngigua mera na atiriri kau kangi tiniai maguru gigikorwo ningi ona haria maroi magathiururika meguturite nikio ndiciragia niho rukari na tondu ni ndakirwo no horagiirwo ngigua mwana uyu wari ng'ong'o agamba hororo ngiohora ngoi haha na haha githuri ngimura kwira hau na ningwire ha ndui ni ngorero iga kwira.
Bro, she's saying the Maumau slaughtered the whole village, were burning people because that area was well known for people who were collaborating with the whites. So the Maumau came for everybody, bro. And they was not letting any witnesses leave, bro. From children to women, bro. She's describing how she felt the child on her back being cut, bro. She said she lay down and said, let them unalive us both here. She was ready, bro. It was that serious.
To the Maumau, Lari was a fight about loyalty and land. But to the British, it was simply a savage massacre of innocent Kikuyu. From now on, Maumau would never be seen as anything but cruel thugs. The horror of that night would eclipse their political ambitions forever.
Upon the children, too, the Maumau had laid...
That's serious, bro. That's serious, bro. Whatever was going on right there, that's some serious stuff, bro.
its evil mark. The lucky ones, I wonder.
The Maumau's bloodthirsty reputation began to obsess the British imagination. They couldn't see Maumau as a force for black progress. To them, it was a primitive attack against the white man and the benevolent advancement he brought.
They saw the savagery as partly a welling up of an old, unreconstructed Africa, which had not yet received sufficient colonial enlightenment and discipline, and which in a sense proved that colonialism still had a job to do.
Did you hear that? Did you hear him? Did you what? Did you hear the fuck he just said, bro? They were on us, bro.
The British, the oaths of allegiance that new recruits would swear were conclusive evidence of Maumau's primitive nature. Initiates would be bound to the oath through rituals using symbols of importance in Kikuyu culture, such as goat's meat and blood.
Twanyunyaga muma kana nanyure muma tukiwa tutigetekera muthungu atwike ni agutura atwathaga kaba tukuete.
Yeah, he's saying they took an oath that the white man would rule them forever, bro. The time was ticking. The soldiers were training. The warriors were sharpening their swords. The frontliners were marching forward on a mission to liberate 254.
Tuthire kugatigara mundu umwe uria unge ugatigwa ari wegari.
nawe tukiuga nĩ tũhũranao na kĩbanga na vinya ũrĩa tũngĩbota nĩ ũndũ Ngai atũteithie twĩyathe nĩkĩo gĩatũmire tũrũa nao na vinya mũno na twarĩkia kũnyua ũmwe tondũ twanyuire mũma mũritũ mũno ũtangĩatirirĩkaga nĩ mũndũ aĩ wa guoya.
Bro, they saying the type of oath they were taking, bro. It was like, I don't know which type of oath, but it was like the real type of thing, You can, the brotherhood type, the Illuminati type of oath. Yep.
In a way, they were doing no more than a British military recruit would do in swearing on the Bible to obey orders and to be loyal to the Queen. But the cultural symbols which were involved, of course, were totally alien to white perspectives. It was seen to be bestial.
Colonial reports of the secret oaths became fixated with them as a source of black magic and bestiality. It was effective propaganda.
Bro. Penis, bro.
And helpful in
masturbate, orgasm, semen. It was bugging, bro. Yeah, we're bugging, bro. Yeah, I know what you're talking about, bro. This is Kama Sutra, bro, and we were trying to fight for our country. What? Masturbate.
Motivating British troops.
We were all soldiers whose job it is to fight the Queen's enemies, and it was clear to us on the briefings that we were given that this was a major force for evil, and that we were there to take it out, to deal with it.
This is Mortina, this is Mortina and the gang of Metinas.
Maumau gangs had their base camps hidden deep inside the dense forests of Mount Kenya and the Aberdares. But British troops were slow to adapt to the terrain.
The Maumau were extremely difficult to get to grips with in the forest. Their local knowledge was excellent. They were used to living very rough. We were impressed by their fieldcraft, their ability to melt away when we approached.
The African ninjas, bro. The Maumau was the African ninjas, bro. 1 minute you're here, next minute you're gone.
Haya, Johnny kithakari nitwamenya.
Yeah, the white man was called Johnny. That's what we gonna call him from now henceforth, Johnny. So when we say Johnny, you mean that's the white nigger, bro.
Tondu wa kwigua riria thigara cianunga na kwigua igitana Johnny kwigua kwa iretanira murimo uria nitwamenya riu Johnny kithakari na thigara na munungu wa thabuni lazima turie ni withambite na thabuni ku.
So he's saying the way they would rat them out, like the way they would know the white man is coming. One was the cigarette smoke, and two, he's saying the soap. But I think he's trying to say the colognes, but he's saying the soap. So they would hear that smell from very far away. Man, I'm telling you, bro, we were superheroes, bro. And they're talking about in the forest.
Tondu mundu anunga kithaka kitheri ta njogu wa kithaka no Johnny ekuo nitwamenyaga ona thirikari ekuo nitwamenyaga na twae na munambi wa gutwiraga riu thirikari imwe no.
Bro, he's saying they had a prophet who would see in real time. He will see when them coming and which part they be going. Yep, I'm telling you, that's the Avengers, bro. That's the Avengers.
Aba bekariona na bwaba thirikari imwe no gukwoguo nitwamenyaga Johnny ekuo kana ye murimo uria nitwithenya tuwikiraki.
They smelt awful.
Come on, Johnny. We smelt what?
Smelt awful.
Johnny.
that sounds a curious comment. We revolted them because we, apparently to them, the European smells of soap. They revolted us because they never had a bath or a proper wash, and they stank.
The Maumau's bush skills were little help outside the forests. Armed with nothing but homemade guns and panga knives, they were a weak enemy compared to the troops mobilized against them. But still, the British military responded with the full force of a colonial power. The forests were bombed.
Bro, they were using the F-19s. They were using the G319s. They were using the Delta 24s. They were using the Steels on us with just machetes. Man, bro. I'm telling you, bro, they saw the adventures. They saw the Avengers in the forest, bro. That's why they had to pull everything from the itinerary.
And became the main hunting ground for Maumau. The forests and a 1-mile strip around them were declared prohibited areas. Any African living nearby was in danger.
When we saw an African in the forest or within the 1-mile strip outside the edge of the forest, we were instructed to treat this African as a Maumau.
Bro, they are shooting us live on camera, bro. That could be the president's father, bro, you just killed, bro. God damn it, bro.
And so it was, shoot on sight is a fair way of describing it.
Nobody knew how many Kikuyu had taken the Maumau oath. To most soldiers and police, all Kikuyu were potential enemies.
You get these...
Yo, why were the Kikuyu wilding like that, bro? I heard it was the Kikuyus and the Embus. Why were they wilding like that, bro?
Young soldiers coming in, they're pitch-poled into a situation where there's a mass of black people. They cannot differentiate between one black man and another. They don't even see the skin colours. They can't tell one tribe from another. The officers are trained for battle situations when you go forth with your platoon or your company and you do something. Well, there's precious little for them to do, precious little for them to attack, and soldiers get bored.
Without knowing who was the enemy and who was not, some soldiers and police began taking the law into their own hands. Reports of brutality by the security forces began to appear in the British press.
Bro, in 2024, the police are still doing the same thing to us, bro. The police are still brutalizing us, bro.
One newspaper carried a story describing a gruesome method by which British troops kept a record of their Maumau kills.
Na makauraga andu muno njoni mauka mamwithira nakwa ni kumutituri makamuraga makamurenga njara makathina njara icio ikinyithitwe figures ikinyithitwe irore.
Bro, they were chopping off hands and taking arms as the souvenirs. That's the work of Journeys.
Nitwacoka thikauti kumenya uria bekarire tugakoreria ning'ania wetu urathirwe na arengwa njara. Riu ucio tutiatindanagira nake no cio tungikoreria murage ate murenge njara nitwamenyaga mundu ucio timwone ni andu acio tukamwoca tukamuiga rungu rwa miti.
A year into the emergency, more shocking stories about troop brutality began to surface. In November 1953, Captain Gerald Griffiths of the King's African Rifles hit the headlines in Britain when, in the course of his court-martial for murdering an African worker, he admitted to paying his men 5 shillings a head for every Maumau they killed.
Bro, 5 shillings a head, bro. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You're dead? Come on, bro. Come on, bro.
A witness at the trial said he was told by Griffiths he could shoot anybody he liked so long as they were black, because Griffiths wanted to increase his company's score of kills to 50.
Certainly, my own regiment, for example, when we got going, the commanding officer offered a cash prize to the first patrol to kill a Maumau. The same sort of thing had been done in Malaya, and it was of course an incentive.
The practice was written up in the regimental records, and the story soon found its way to the House of Commons and the British press.
I was sent home on a course about halfway through our time in Kenya, and I was at home in Teignmouth.
Bro, this man was so active on us, bro. You are so active, bro, on our asses, bro. Nimekumark.
In Devon, and about the time I was there was a great headline in the newspaper: "Is your son in the Devons? If so, is he a murderer?" And people who I thought were really good old friends were distinctly chilly with me.
The British military commander-in-chief, General George Erskine, was appalled by what he called the breach of discipline among the forces. He sent round a stern memo, warning them to clean up their act.
I think probably going into the forest and shooting natives of what to an extent was a host country was a
To an extent, was a host country. With your black eyebrows and your wrinkled goddamn skin and your elephant ears.
little bit offside.
Mama Chogona, hey Mau.
But the real battle against Maumau was not fought in the forests. It was a struggle for hearts and minds. In late 1953, the British began a new campaign to cut the Maumau off from their supporters. In towns and villages, Kikuyu were rounded up by the government and divided into loyal and disloyal. The first target was Nairobi, believed to be the
Nairobi.
center of Maumau organization. A ruthless operation to clear the city of suspect Kikuyu was put into action. It was called Operation Anvil.
You woke up in the morning and the whole estate was kind of surrounded by soldiers with guns, and people were herded to small areas without knowing what.
Oi, tunalia kina Moi wachiliwe.
Is happening. They were not guilty of anything. They just had to be taken away and removed. Whether you were innocent or not, you had to go.
By the end of Operation Anvil, more than 30,000 Kikuyu had been swept out of the city and sent to holding camps, regardless of their allegiance. This policy punished the entire Kikuyu.
Bro. These people aren't serious, bro. These people ain't serious, bro.
Tribe for the sins of a minority. In the roundups, families were separated.
Men were taken to the camps. Women and children...
Hey, our women had drip, bro. Our women were looking nice. Our women were looking nice, bro.
Families were separated.
Come on.
Men were taken to...
Hey, look at that print. This a dope ass print, bro. Look at this print, bro.
The camps. Women and children were forced onto the overcrowded native reserves. In rural areas, Kikuyu were pushed into specially built fortified villages where they lived under 23-hour curfew. This policy, known as villagization, gave the colonial authorities total control over the tribe. The government portrayed it as purely protective and beneficial for the Africans.
During the emergency, the Kikuyu were concentrated into villages as a protection against Maumau, and quickly recognized the advantages of this organization.
Villagization was anathema to the Kikuyu. The Kikuyu live on farms, they love their land, and to push them into a village was to destroy a whole part of their culture.
Wait. Does that mean we want living in villages? Is that what that means? We want living in villages? Bro, I don't know anything about that.
The villages were controlled by the Home Guard, local police forces made up of Kikuyu loyal to the British.
Bro, those are the rats, bro. These are the fucking snitches.
Divide and rule of the tribe became an effective weapon in the campaign.
To aid them in their struggle, hundreds of loyal Africans, among them men of the Kikuyu tribe, keep constant guard.
As the British government continued its technique of reward and punishment, the Kikuyu tribe was split. Loyalists paid a higher and higher price for their allegiance.
Yo, let me tell you this about the world. If you haven't noticed, the only strong weapon that makes it against the people is division, bro. It started in religion, tribes, borders, districts, states. Yep, that's how they divide. We have to break all those so that to become one, bro. The system has already won.
Oraga twaoragaga na rĩrĩ na nĩ wegucaga tũkiuga gũkĩrwo atĩ Maumau nĩ njũku mũno tondũ ĩrarũraga mũndũ ĩgacoka ĩgatũra mĩgwanja ĩkathiĩ ĩgacuria ũmwe na kwĩra ũrĩa ĩngĩ ĩgacuria na kũrĩa.
Bro, they were hanging niggas, bro. This is like the Chinese movie tunaonanga, bro. Unaona mtu ametembea kwa desert, then you see some head hanging. That's the type of shit they was doing, bro. The Maumau, bro, they were serious, bro.
Gĩtũmi kĩa mũndũ ũcio wa loyo aitwe twaitaga tũmwite ithuĩ tũmwite twamwitaga nĩ ũndũ mũndũ ũcio nĩwe ũtarenda wĩathi wetu ũrĩa tũretia tondũ twayanyumuma atĩ tũngĩkona mũnyakerwo nĩ kũnyonga kwoguo twamaitaga nĩ ũndũ wa kũthiĩ kumbũra thiri tondũ nĩacoka twamũrekereria athiĩ atũretere engĩ mũno maũke akore methera mũraiya methere wĩngĩ ũciarĩve na indo itabwe nyingĩ mũno ũcio twaitaga wita ũguo twekaga.
So he's saying there was no sparing the loyalties. The snitches, bro, they were not spared at all. Why? Because they would go and get the backup. And they would fuck everything up. Shit. Kikosi, hope we are learning, bro.
The Maumau had earned their reputation for violence. But in the face of such determined rebellion, it was the British who would finally take the brutality one step too far.
Wait, are we about to witness something horrific? End of part 2. Kikosi, what have you learned so far? What have I learned in part 2?
The gift of civilization had always been invoked to justify rule over the black man. But in wiping...
Y'all heard that? And it's something that's continuing until now. Y'all think civilization is everything? It's a weapon to them, bro.
The colony clean of Maumau, the British used methods that were anything but civilized. Emergency law was rough justice. It became a capital offense to take a Maumau oath, or even to be seen with anyone carrying a gun. Between 1953 and 1956, more than 1,000 Africans were hanged for alleged Maumau crimes. Public hanging...
Bro. They were killing us, bro. Left, right, center. Every way they knew. And every time... Bro, 5 shillings, bro. 5 shillings, bro, for your head.
Had been outlawed in Britain for over a century. But in Kenya, it was used to keep the rest of the population in line.
When somebody did have to hang for their Maumau crimes, then the British felt that the Kikuyu should not only have justice done to them, but should see that justice was done. There was a mobile gallows. The actual drop was, of course, screened off, but one could see, or at least imagine, the Maumau convict mounting the staircase to the platform, and presumably one could hear the drop. Dead Maumau, particularly Maumau commanders, were displayed at crossroads, at marketplaces, at administrative centres, to demonstrate that if you fought against the British, you could meet a sticky end.
Many more thousands were held in detention camps on suspicion of being Maumau. During the emergency, the camps held more than 80,000. In 1954, 1/3 of all Kikuyu men were said to be in prison at any one time.
Bro, you heard that? The Kikuyu were really getting it, and they were still out there doing it, bro.
These detainees had not been convicted of any crime and were held without trial. The government was still obsessed with the power of the Maumau oath. They believed that any Kikuyu still bound by it would be a danger to the stability of the colony. Every prisoner had to denounce the oath and submit to a cleansing ceremony.
A lot of pressure was put on me and other people to confess the oath, which of course we denied. It was very dehumanizing. You were made to feel you were nothing. You being whipped and kind of walking, you made to run on your knees, literally. You had to crawl until you sweat. Then you were made...
Man, look at our Wukas, bro. They were really going through it, bro. Look at his face, bro. Let me bust a gun for these three, bro. Thank you, bro. Thank you.
To stand for sometimes overnight under very heavy light. You had to be pushed and knocked around and frightened in so much that people had even to admit what was not true.
By 1956, the camps held 20,000 detainees who still refused to confess that they had taken an oath. As a fighting force, Maumau had been defeated, but the logjam of suspects meant that the emergency could not be brought to an end. London demanded that some way be found to speed up the process of cleansing detainees of their oaths.
Bro, They were ugly, bro. Shit. What? Ugly fighters, bro. That's a gun for the ugly fighters, bro.
The way that it found was if you beat them up enough, then they'll confess an oath. So what you do is you beat them up and then you give them a bit of paper and a piece of pencil and say, confess, I took it, I took it, I took it. You are now a human being again.
I think sort of Christianity had been tried and hadn't succeeded with them.
Bro, were they using Christianity as a weapon too, bro? Just say that.
And they needed a sort of moral compulsion, I don't know how one else could put it really, to confess their oaths.
The Maumau camps held 5,000 detainees who were refusing to confess the oath and submit to the rehabilitation process.
I was told that I was going to be posted to take over the rehabilitation at the Maumau camps. So I said, no, I don't want to do this. And I was then told you can't say no in a service, you have to, at the very least, go and look at it. So I went to go and have a look at it. There I met Superintendent Cowan.
John Cowan was head of the Maumau detention camps. He developed an effective method of extracting confessions.
In one of my camps, there was a small faction of Maumau detainees who were difficult, and there was a procedure which was implemented.
Bro, every minute he's talking, bro, it makes me so mad, bro. I feel like I could enter and fuck him up right now, bro.
There, which was successful. It was a very sort of embryonic procedure. We had to coerce them into confessing. We used a little bit of force on them. They were surrounded by elders and by other detainees, all pleading with them to confess, shouting at them. It's difficult for them to resist. It was pressure, really. And they did confess in the end.
Superintendent Cowan explained to me in great detail what he did. And he told me that my fears were totally groundless because all it was just like a good rugger scrum.
There might have been hand slapping, possibly an odd fist or two here and there, but no more than that. I never saw a man, in all the time I was there, having had force perpetrated on him, in any worse condition than an amateur boxer getting out of a ring.
Cowan's method, using what was called compelling force, proved very successful at eliciting confessions. He was asked to write a report on how to deal with a group of hardcore detainees held at a camp called Hola.
Shakahola, bro.
Now violence was enshrined as official policy. It was here, at Hola, that the government's brutality would finally bring the crisis to a tragic end. The Hola prisoners refused to confess the oath or to perform manual labor. They declared themselves political prisoners.
Bure muma no nyitanire na thirikari ya Ngeretha uiruke tukirega tugicokio thiini etondo tutingithie tutingeiruka tukiregire gutherenda ciendaga tondu tutiathiite njera nigetha tukathukume twathiite kurwira wiyasi.
Bro, these people were serious with what they were doing, bro. Just said when they were in prison, they didn't go there to be like bitches, bro. They were there to fight for their freedom in prison and out of prison, bro. That's my spirit, bro. We're fighting, bro. Let's continue fighting.
Cowan Plan outlined a scheme to make the Hola detainees submit to authority. The first thing was to get them to obey work orders.
Envisaged a possibility that the detainees wouldn't immediately prove amenable to work, and that if they didn't, they should be, in the phrase, manhandled to the site of work and forced to carry out the task. We thought that compelling force might have to be used. We might have to make them.
But they weren't being violent, were they? They were simply refusing
No, they
to
weren't.
work.
They weren't being violent, but they were being very insolent, and their whole demeanour was one of sort of insolence and arrogance, and they weren't. No one was going to do anything with them at all.
On the 3rd of March 1959, the camp commandant put Cowan's plan into action. 85 prisoners were marched out to a site and ordered to work.
Bro, 85 prisoners? How many guards?
Tukitwalo na hau mũgũnda-inĩ ta handũ ha makinya hakuhĩ 400 kuma kambĩ-inĩ. Tũgĩkora rĩu kũu kũigĩtwo thururu na macembe, tũkĩrwo rĩu no nginya twambĩrĩrie kũruta wĩra wa kwenja mĩtaro.
Bro, he's saying they were forced to go and start digging. According to the story, how it's going, it's like these niggas brought some action that day.
Ithuĩ tũkiuga tũtingĩenja mĩtaro tondũ ithuĩ tũrarĩohe nĩ tũrĩkĩtie kĩoho.
Bro, he told the white niggas, fuck your holes. We ain't digging nothing. We're here to fight for our freedom, not to work for your white, crunched up asses, bro.
Ningĩ ithuĩ twĩ gũkũ nĩ ũndũ wa wĩyathi tũtiũkĩte gũtuĩka ngombo.
When the prisoners refused peacefully to cooperate, the commandant decided to compel the men to work.
Nĩ ũndũ wa ũguo, kwarĩ na thigari 200, thigari 170 ciarũngiĩ na nja na mĩcinga.
Bro, he's saying there were 200 guards. 170 of them made a circle around them with machine guns. What happened next?
Nacio thigari 30 nĩcio ciarĩ thĩinĩ witũ ina njũgũma.
Oh, so they had 30 of them with them in the trenches.
Mũthũngũ ũrĩa warĩ kuo akĩhuha birigi. Nĩ ũndũ wa ũguo ithuĩ twakĩambĩrĩirie kũhũrwo na njũgũma. Tũgĩkĩhũrwo kĩwanja gĩothe wakĩona kĩu kĩahora, no rũkũngũ rũtheri rũrombũka. Twahũrirwo kuma thaa icio 2 nginya thaa 5:30. Rĩu mũgakĩhũragwo na thimbu. Tondũ mũthigari ekũgucia rĩu mũndũ ũmwe kana erĩ agatwara harĩa. Ku. No niĩ nĩ ũndũ wa mũnyaka ndatigirwo magũrũ nja na moko kũu nĩkuo kwao. Nĩ ũndũ arĩa makuire arĩa twariganĩtie nĩo makĩndũgĩrĩire. Nĩkuo kwao. No niĩ nĩ ũndũ wa mũnyaka.
Hold on. He's saying they were beaten to death.
Na thimbu. Tondũ mũthigari ekũgucia rĩu mũndũ ũmwe kana erĩ agatwara harĩa. Ku. No niĩ nĩ ũndũ wa mũnyaka ndatigirwo magũrũ nja na moko kũu nĩkuo kwao. Nĩ ũndũ arĩa.
Bro, he's one of the niggas who was there. What he's saying, there 85 of them were taken out there with 30 cops. Once they refused working, they were beaten to death. He was lucky because most of the bodies were on top of him, so they couldn't take him out to finish him, bro. Because that's what they did to our grandfathers, bro.
Makuire arĩa twariganĩtie nĩo makĩndũgĩrĩire. No arĩa tondũ no maragĩka atĩa marakĩrũa. Ũguo twahũragwo tũkometio thĩ. Rĩu tondũ tũkĩrĩ muohe. Wakĩgarũrwo ũkahũrwo na gũkũ. Wegarũrwo ũkahũrwo na gũkũ.
When the guards stopped, 11 men lay dead and 60 were seriously injured.
Bro, they killed 11 niggas on the spot. Bro.
The district commissioner was called to the scene.
So I go up to Hola, where as far as I could see, there were quite a number of corpses on the ground. And a lot of others injured, writhing about, and a whole gaggle of people, black prison officers, prison warders, and white prison officers standing around, all not knowing what to do. I realized at once that this was political dynamite.
Prison officers claimed the detainees had died drinking contaminated water from a tank. The story found its way back to London.
Bro. Kikosi, tell me if these people ain't pure evil, bro. Tell me how 90% of you worship the same God as these people, bro. Make it make sense. How you all worship the same person as these people, bro.
The Labour MP Barbara Castle had been monitoring reports of British brutality throughout the Maumau crisis. She was sceptical when she read the first reports of Hola.
A story appeared in the press that 11 Africans had died.
Listen, bro. Melanin, bro. Melanin is everything.
But the explanation given by the Europeans in control of the camp was they died drinking water from a water cart. Well, I mean, I could guess that another cover-up was taking place, but I felt pretty helpless.
But the true story of the prisoners' deaths could not be kept quiet.
The corpses had to be got rid of. We had to fly them out in a plane from our dirt airstrip. They had to be flown to Malindi, which was the nearest place where, again, it's all publicity, you see. The news had got out. Corpses were being flown in from Hola where they'd been beaten up.
An incident that had appalled people on the ground caused an uproar in Britain. The Cowan Plan, with its instructions to manhandle the prisoners, came under fire.
I didn't feel guilty, I don't think. I don't think that's quite the word. I felt obviously very sorry indeed and great regret that 11...
Man. He said he ain't feel nothing.
Men had died and 60-odd had been injured. I'm sorry that I didn't modify that particular phrase that I used, but I didn't. I think that was couldn't have been foreseen. I didn't feel guilty that the procedure had gone wrong. I felt extremely sorry that it had gone wrong, but not actually guilty.
For the first time, the full...
That's pure evil, bro, talking. That's nothing but pure evil speaking right there, bro. A white, compressed, pure evil, bro.
horror of what had been happening in Kenya was revealed to a shocked public. Suddenly it was the British authorities who looked like brutal thugs. In the House of Commons, the scandal brought condemnation from all sides.
I went into the house. I was so trembling with rage. I could barely get the words out. It was a packed House of Commons. And I was followed immediately by Enoch Powell in his very clipped, upright, business-like tones, with no emotion in it, but also tearing the cover-up case apart brilliantly.
Agovi wax camp, bro. Does anybody know where this is? This is where the action was.
Political disaster, The Tories rushed to repair the damage. Within weeks,
What's going on,
political
bro?
disaster. The Tories rushed to repair the...
What? Look at this man smiling, bro. Nothing to smile about, bro.
damage. Within weeks, London stopped the rehabilitation process in the Kenyan camps. The Maumau oath, which had dominated the crisis, suddenly became irrelevant.
Everyone was pushed out as fast as possible, whether they'd confessed to taking an oath or not confessed to taking an oath, whether they were still human or subhuman or not human or whatever. And the move to independence via the release of Kenyatta, the leader of the Kikuyu and the leader of the movement, began to go more and more quickly.
The scandal of Hola highlighted the Africans' political aspirations, but it also revealed the hypocrisy of a colonial power that tried to civilize its African subjects with brutality.
They weren't animals, they weren't this, that and the other. What they were doing was fighting a political fight for their freedom, and Hola eventually gave it to them.
The emergency that had...
Is that the meaning of giving? Are you out of your white mind? That's not the meaning of giving to us, bro. We took that shit, bro, from your dirty hands, bro. Even if you say we were stinking.
cost the lives of 32 settlers and 11,500 Maumau was over. For Britain, Hola brought the Maumau crisis and her romance with...
Let's listen to the facts again. Please, the facts are the most important.
32 settlers and...
fight for their freedom, and Hola eventually gave it to them.
The emergency that had cost the lives of 32 settlers.
32 settlers. The settlers are the whites.
And 11,500 Maumau.
11 and what?
It cost the lives of 32 settlers and 11,500 Maumau.
11 and a half? 11 and a half? Kikosi. 11 and a half? 11 and a half?
Was over. For Britain, Hola brought the Maumau crisis and her romance with Kenya to a shameful end.
Bro. 11,500, bro. With only 35 white men died on the struggle for Kenya's independence. But you know what? We're only getting their side of the story. So, do your research, do your homework, and comment what you know about this.
It's hard to believe that that could have happened under a British colonial administration. But it did. And it followed us. It was in a period of insensitivity to the fact that these Africans were human beings that were going to develop and demand the right to develop and to rule themselves.
In 1963, only 4 years after the Hola massacre, Kenya was granted independence. Jomo Kenyatta
Harambe! Harambe!
freed from prison, became the country's first president.
Yo, why do some folks say Kenyatta sold us, bro? Kikosi, where do those rumors come from? Why do they say Baba Uhuru sold us? Why do they say Baba Uhuru sold us? Because he was taken to get some education, or because he was left the seat by the whites? Was there any other good contender? I don't know. The history I read came from the whites. We need our own.
The men and women who had been cast as savages were free to run their own country. Joining the celebrations were the last die-hard Maumau, who had always vowed to stay in the forests until the day Kenya was free.
Yo, I haven't seen the king yet. Yo, that was epic, bro. That was goddamn epic, bro. That was goddamn epic, bro. So, until next time, it's been real. It's been powerful. We out here. We bussin'. We bussin'. Peace.